The wind howled through the burned trees, carrying ash and dust across the blackened hills. Jason trudged forward, rifle slung over his shoulder, boots crunching over broken metal and dried blood. His unit was gone. Only silence remained on this alien planet that had turned into a battlefield without warning. He wasn't supposed to be here. Just a supply technician from Earth, transferred to an off-world research post. But when the skies turned red and ships fell from orbit like burning knives, survival became his only mission. He moved carefully through the forest ruins, alert for anything: enemy drones, wild beasts, even traps. The alien war had come suddenly. No one understood why. One day they were allies. The next they were hunted. Something had triggered the violence, but no one left alive could explain it. As he passed a jagged ridge, he heard something strange. Not gunfire, not an engine. It was softer, broken, like a whimper. He froze, every muscle tight. Slowly, he crept toward the sound, his rifle raised. The noise came again, a pained cry. Weak, but still alive. Behind a cluster of rocks, something moved. It wasn't human. Jason's finger hovered over the trigger, but then he saw it: an animal. Or something like one. It was huge, about the size of a horse, but with strange purple fur and metallic ridges along its back. It was bleeding badly, one leg twisted under its body. Its eyes were wide, but not wild. They were scared. Jason lowered his weapon. It didn't attack. It just stared at him, breathing fast, trembling. He took a step forward, and the creature flinched but didn't run. He knelt, slowly removing his pack. "I'm not here to hurt you," he whispered, though he knew it couldn't understand him. Still, his voice calmed it a little. He pulled out water, poured it into a dented metal bowl, and slid it close. The creature sniffed it cautiously, then drank. Jason smiled faintly. "Good, that's good," he said. He reached out, and this time the beast didn't back away. He touched its fur. It was warm, even soft under the grime and blood. The wound on its leg looked deep, but not fatal. He cleaned it, using his own field kit, working gently as the creature watched in silence. Night came fast. Jason built a small fire, keeping it low. The creature curled beside it, exhausted. He sat near it, unsure if he had just made a friend or a mistake. But for the first time in days, he didn't feel completely alone. When he woke the next morning, the creature was still there. It had shifted closer to him in the night, resting its heavy head near his leg. Jason blinked in surprise, but didn't move. Instead, he looked at the sky. Thick clouds rolled in. Somewhere, a distant explosion echoed. The war was still out there, but for now, this moment felt calm. They walked together. The creature limped but followed him closely. He didn't know where he was going anymore. His cums were dead, the base destroyed. But he had a new purpose now. Keep this creature safe. He didn't know why, but it felt important. Like fate had put it in his path for a reason. 2 days passed. Then, the sky split open with a roar. A massive alien dropship descended through the clouds, its engines whining like thunder. Jason grabbed his rifle and pulled the creature behind him. He wasn't ready to die, not now. Not after all this. The ship landed ahead of him, and soldiers in dark armor spilled out, tall, sharp-featured beings with glowing tattoos and golden weapons. Jason raised his hands slowly. He knew them. He had seen them on the base before the war. They were nobles, royal bloodlines. The ones in charge of everything. One of them stepped forward. A female warrior with silver armor and piercing violet eyes. Her gaze fell on the wounded creature, and something changed in her expression. Not anger, not surprise, but recognition. She looked at Jason. Her voice was cold, but respectful. "You found her," she said. "You healed her. Do you know who she is?" Jason shook his head slowly. The creature pressed against his leg, shivering again. The woman nodded and gave a slight bow. That creature is bonded to the Lady Seraveth, the ruling baroness of this region. And you, human, you are summoned by her at once. Jason had never been inside an alien warship before. The interior was silent, glowing with soft blue lights and silver walls that curved like flowing water. The soldiers didn't speak to him. They walked in, 2 straight lines, guarding both him and the beast he had rescued. He wasn't tied or threatened. But the silence was heavier than chains. The creature stayed close to Jason, limping slightly but calm. The female warrior, the one who spoke earlier, walked ahead of them. Her armor made no sound. Her face showed nothing. But Jason could feel tension in the air, like a storm waiting to break. He had questions, many, but no one answered them. The ship rose high into the clouds, passing through layers of storm and ash. Through the window, he saw the ruined forests below, burned fields, smoke rising. Whatever this war was, it was far from over. After what felt like an hour, the ship finally landed in a wide-open field filled with glowing flowers and smooth towers that looked like crystal. Soldiers lined the walkways. Music played softly from hidden speakers. It didn't feel like a war zone here. It felt like royalty lived here. They led him inside a tall white building. The halls were grand, like a palace, with walls made of metal and light. Alien servants stood in corners, their eyes following him. No one smiled. No one spoke. Still, the creature stayed beside him, brushing against his arm now, and then, like it trusted no one else, they stopped before a giant door. It opened slowly, revealing a room that shimmered like stars. And sitting in the center, on a throne that floated slightly above the floor, was an alien woman unlike any Jason had ever seen. She was tall, elegant, her skin a smooth blue-green that glowed faintly. Her long silver hair moved gently as if touched by wind that wasn't there. She wore a flowing gown that sparkled with shifting patterns like galaxies. Her eyes were glowing violet, and they were fixed directly on Jason. The female warrior knelt. Everyone else in the room did too. Jason stood frozen. The creature beside him let out a soft cry and limped forward. The alien woman rose from her throne and knelt down before the beast. She placed her hand on its head and closed her eyes. Her lips moved in a language Jason didn't understand. But the creature purred softly, leaning into her touch. After a moment, she stood again. "You saved her," she said, her voice gentle but powerful. "Her name is Kelfi. She is no ordinary creature. She is my bonded companion, my guardian, my heart. Without her, I would have been considered unfit to rule. And she would have died, alone and forgotten in the wild." Jason lowered his head slightly. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "I just found her. She was hurt. She needed help. And you gave it," the Baroness replied. "Even though you were hunted. Even though you were alone. You risked your life for something you did not understand. That is rare, even among your kind." He didn't know what to say. He could feel every eye in the room watching him. The creature Kelfi returned to his side and nuzzled against him. The Baroness watched them both with a strange expression. She stepped closer, and her presence was overwhelming, like standing next to his son. "Tell me your name, human." "Jason Holt," he said. "I am Seraveth, daughter of the stars, Baroness of the 9 Rings," she said. "And I owe you a debt." Jason's mouth went dry. "I didn't do it for a reward," he said. She smiled faintly. "That is exactly why the reward must be earned." She turned to the side, and the walls of the throne room shifted, revealing a long map of glowing lines and moving dots. "This war, it was not started by us. Something is moving in the outer regions. Something ancient. Kelfi was sent to investigate. She was attacked by forces not even my generals could recognize. Jason stared at the map. The dots were moving like living things. He didn't understand any of it. But the way Seraveth looked at him made him feel like it mattered deeply. "I need someone I can trust," she said. "Someone who has no ties to our politics, no reason to lie. Kelthie chose you. That is not something I can ignore. So I ask you, Jason Holt of Earth, will you stand beside me and help uncover the truth behind this war?" Jason hesitated. He was just a supply tech. Nobody. But something inside him whispered that everything had changed the moment. He knelt beside that dying beast in the woods. He looked down at Kelthie, then back at the Baroness. He took a breath and gave the only answer that felt right. "Yes, I'll help you find the truth." Jason stood in a world that felt like a dream. Alien towers stretched into the sky like silver trees. Floating transport orbs zipped silently through the air. He walked beside the Baroness's guards, his steps heavy with doubt. Kelthie stayed. Close, her wounded leg moving better now. She looked stronger, like being near Seraveth had healed her in ways Jason couldn't. He didn't feel like a hero. He wasn't a soldier or a spy. He was just a human with basic training and a half-broken field kit. Yet now he was walking through the heart of alien power, past statues of warriors, glowing banners, and strange machines humming with energy. The Baroness had told him nothing more after his agreement. No one did. He was given guest quarters, a large room with soft blue lighting and walls that responded to his thoughts. A voice welcomed him in his language, offering rest and food. Still, he couldn't sleep. He paced the room, staring out through the glass. He saw ships moving between towers, lights blinking across the dark sky. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the war still burned. But here, everything looked clean, peaceful, too quiet. Kelthie slept beside the bed, curled into a ball of soft purple fur. She didn't seem worried. Maybe that's why Jason stayed. Maybe that's why he didn't run. The next morning, the same silent guards returned. They led him down a long hall where the Baroness waited, standing before a round platform that glowed with swirling light. She wore a sleek uniform now, not the flowing gown. She looked less like a queen and more like a commander. "Step onto the platform," she said. "We're going somewhere your voice will matter," he obeyed. The light rose around them, and suddenly they were gone. The air bent, the room vanished. And in the blink of an eye, they were standing on a balcony high above a massive circular chamber. Below them, hundreds of aliens filled the seats. Different species, tall ones with 4 arms, thin ones with glowing skin, winged beings, robotic forms. They argued, hissed, and shouted in many languages. This was not a court. It was a storm. "This is the Council of Sovereigns," Seraveth said calmly, "and they are not pleased." One alien, dressed in red armor, slammed his staff against the ground. "You bring a human here?" he barked in perfect English. "This outsider is your trusted voice now?" Another, a snake-like being with golden eyes, hissed. "Their kind broke the treaty. Their kind fired first. You forget who your enemies are, Seraveth." The Baroness raised a single hand. The room silenced, but the tension remained. She gestured to Jason. He saved Kelthie. He saw the damage done to her, not by humans, by something else. And if we do not listen to his words, this war will consume us all. Jason swallowed hard. He wasn't ready for this. But when he looked down and saw Kelthie being led beside him, standing proud, with her head high, something inside him rose. He stepped forward. The light followed him. Every eye turned to him. He spoke slowly, unsure of what mattered, but knowing the truth was all he had. "I didn't know what Kelthie was," he said. "I just saw someone hurt and bleeding. I helped her because no one else did. But what attacked her, what left the marks, it wasn't human. I've seen our weapons. I know how they look. This was something else." He paused, watching their faces. Some looked bored. Others were curious. A few narrowed their eyes like he had just challenged their beliefs. I saw her wound glow blue, he continued. Not from plasma. From something. Older. It looked like crystals. And her mind, she showed me things when I touched her. Like memories, something was chasing her. Something. Cold, not alive, but thinking, watching. Murmurs spread. The red-armored alien leaned forward. What proof does he have? Dreams? Feelings? A beast's fear? Jason stood taller. You. Want proof? Then go where I found her. The forest. The broken valley. There are remains, energy signatures. You say this war started because of humans, but maybe it didn't. Maybe someone wanted it to start. The Baroness stepped beside him. I've already sent scouts to confirm his story. If he is right, then the enemy is not who we thought. And if he is wrong, then I will answer for it. The chamber went silent. No one spoke. Then the council. Leader, a pale creature with no mouth and 6 blinking eyes, raised a glowing rod. Then let truth guide us. The vote will wait. Until then, the human stays. Under your command, Seraveth. She nodded. Jason let out a slow breath. It felt like he had just jumped off a cliff and landed on a cloud. The Baroness looked at him. With something close to approval. You spoke like a warrior, she said. Now you must act like one. He nodded. What happens now? She turned, her eyes sharp. Now we find the ones who wanted this war to begin. And we tear their lies apart. Asterisk, the scout ship sliced through clouds like a blade. Jason sat beside Seraveth in the forward chamber, staring at the display screen. The coordinates he had given were correct. The forest valley appeared below, burned and broken. Trees twisted in black scars, ash still hanging in the air. Kelpie stood near the window, her body still marked by wounds, though healing fast. Her glowing eyes never blinked. Jason watched her, wondering what she had seen that others didn't. Something had chased her. Something that didn't want her to speak. That truth chilled him more than any battlefield. The ship landed quietly in the valley. Guards stepped out first, checking the perimeter with scanning devices. Jason followed with Seraveth and Kelpie, boots crunching over charred ground. The smell of old fire still clung to the air. He recognized the exact place where he had first found her. It felt like walking into a memory. One of the soldiers called out, "Over here." They rushed to the spot. A half-buried metal shard jutted from the soil, faintly glowing blue. It was not human, and not from Seraveth's forces either. Jason leaned closer. The edges shimmered strangely, like heat-bending light. A tech officer scanned it with a long device. His face paled as data filled the screen. Energy reading confirmed. This material matches nothing in our database. Not human, not noble, unknown origin. Seraveth nodded slowly. Just as he said, something new. Or something old. Forgotten. They moved deeper into the ruins. More pieces were found. Bits of armor. Crystalline fragments. A deep gouge in the earth, like a beam had cut through the soil from above. Jason followed the pattern with his eyes. It wasn't random. It was focused. Precise. Like someone had been targeted. Kelpie ran from this, he said. She was being hunted. This wasn't an accident. It was an execution attempt. Seraveth turned toward her. But why would they attack my bonded beast? Unless she saw something they needed hidden. Kelpie made a low growl. Then she stepped forward, sniffing the air, moving with purpose. Jason and the others followed. She led them to a jagged rock wall. At first, it looked solid. But she pressed her head against a patch of moss. A faint click echoed. A hidden door slid open, revealing darkness behind it. Weapons were drawn. Lights activated. They stepped inside. The air changed, cold, still. Jason shivered. It felt wrong, like they had just walked into the mouth of something that didn't want to be disturbed. The corridor was narrow, made of dark stone and metal. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing faintly. Jason touched one, but Seraveth stopped. Don't. Some of these markings are dangerous. This place is ancient. They reached a chamber. Inside were machines unlike anything Jason had seen. Cylindrical pods, screens with shifting images. A glass case in the center held a strange device, a sphere floating above a ring of black stone. Calthy growled louder. Jason's chest tightened. Recording flickered to life. A figure appeared tall, robed, face hidden beneath a smooth mask. The voice spoke in broken language, stitched from multiple tongues. To all who enter, know this. The war you see is not real. It is a shadow cast by us, the forgotten. We shape anger. We mold fear. The noble beasts see too much. They are dangerous. To our silence, she must not reach the Baroness. The recording cut. The lights dimmed. Silence fell like a hammer. Jason looked at Seraveth. Her hands were clenched, her jaw tight. It was a setup, she said. Something started this war using false attacks. They wanted your kind and mine to turn against each other. And Calthy was proof. She saw them. She survived. That made her a target. Jason stared at the strange floating sphere. Then this war, it's not just a mistake. It's a manipulation. Someone wants all sides blind. Seraveth turned to her guards. Take everything. We leave no trace. As they exited the hidden lab, Jason felt the weight of what they had uncovered. This wasn't just about a wounded creature anymore. This was about truth. About how easily peace could be broken by lies whispered in shadows. As the ship lifted from the valley, Seraveth spoke quietly. The council must see this. But they will not all believe. Some benefit from the war. Some grow stronger in chaos. We have enemies now. Real ones, hidden ones. Jason nodded. Then we hit first, before they strike again. She looked at him, not as a human outsider now, but as an equal standing in a storm neither of them had asked for. Prepare yourself, Jason Holt. You may be the key to ending a war that was never meant to begin. The council chamber felt colder than before. Jason stood beside Seraveth as the evidence was projected above the room. The recorded message played again. The masked figure spoke of manipulation, of lies, of war started not by anger, but by design. The council watched in silence, some leaning forward, others stiff with unease. Calthy sat calmly behind Jason, her eyes glowing, her wounds almost fully healed now. She watched the council with quiet judgment, like she remembered who had doubted her pain. Jason kept glancing at the seats. Something felt off. Too many quiet glances. Too many hands hidden beneath robes. When the recording ended, the leader of the council finally spoke. The message is disturbing, but recordings can be forged. Artifacts can be planted. What proof do we have that this is not a human trick? Jason's jaw clenched. You think I did this? I was scavenging for food when I found Calthy. I had no idea she was bonded to a noble. I had no reason to lie then, and I don't now. An armored figure across the chamber rose. Your voice is loud, human. But war has already cost us thousands of lives. Do you expect us to stop it based on a wounded beast's memory? Calthy growled, a low sound that echoed. Jason placed a hand on her side to calm her. Seraveth stepped forward, her tone sharp. This is no ordinary beast. She carries a direct bond to me. Her mind is as sharp as any council member here. If you insult her, you insult my house. Tension tightened like a wire. But the council leader raised a hand, and silence returned. We will send our own teams to confirm what was found. Until then, the evidence is sealed. The council is adjourned. The lights dimmed. Guards stepped in. Jason felt a sudden weight in his chest. This wasn't acceptance. It was delay. Delay from people who didn't want the truth exposed. Seraveth seemed to sense it too. She turned to him once they were alone in the corridor. That chamber is full of old loyalties and secret hands. We shook something loose today. They won't all take it quietly. Later that night, Jason stood on the balcony of his guest quarters, watching the stars move across the sky. The tower was high above the city below. He felt strange standing there, like a guest on a world that still didn't trust him. Kelthie lay curled at his feet, her tail swaying gently. The night was calm, but calm doesn't last. He heard the faint click of metal, then the sharp hiss of something moving fast. He ducked just in time. A razor-thin dart buried itself in the wall where his head had been. Kelthie sprang up with a roar, placing herself between Jason and the shadows. A figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked, face hidden. A blade shimmered. In one hand, Jason reached for his sidearm. He fired once, missed. The assassin closed the gap. Kelthie charged, slamming into the attacker. They rolled across the floor in a blur of movement. Jason scrambled for cover. Another dart hit the wall beside him. He aimed again, fired. This time it hit. The figure stumbled. Kelthie struck hard. Her jaws clamped down on the assassin's arm. The weapon dropped. The figure gasped, pulling free and leaping through the open window into the wind. But before they vanished, their hoods slipped. Jason caught a glimpse. It was a council guard. Minutes later, Seraveth stormed into the room with her elite warriors. Jason stood in the corner, breathing hard, blood on his arm where a blade had grazed him. Kelthie licked the wound slowly. He met Seraveth's eyes. They sent someone to kill me. From inside, she nodded. We feared this. The moment you became a threat to the story they've built, they moved to silence you. Jason gritted his teeth. Then the proof is real. Someone on the council doesn't want peace. They want the war to continue. They want power. Seraveth said, and war gives it to them. Fear keeps their enemies blind and their allies obedient. Jason stood. Then we take away their fear. We expose them. Seraveth stepped close. You're not just a witness anymore, Jason Holt. You're a target. And now you're something more dangerous. A symbol. Jason looked down at Kelthie, then back at the stars. He didn't want to be a symbol. He just wanted the truth to matter. But maybe, to make that happen, someone had to bleed first. Let's make sure the next time they strike, we're ready, he said. Seraveth placed a hand on his shoulder. Then prepare yourself. The real war is just beginning. The palace was quiet before dawn. Storm clouds rolled over the towers, heavy with rain and something deeper tension. Jason stood beside Seraveth in the command hall, staring at the holographic map. Red lines glowed where battle still burned. But now new marks had appeared. Secret movements, hidden bases. Signals traced from the assassin's broken device. They had found the source. A hidden facility buried beneath the northern ridge. It wasn't owned by any known faction, no noble family, no human command. It operated in shadows, receiving power from stolen cores, relaying encrypted messages across both human and alien sectors. This is where they built the lie, Seraveth said. Where they forged weapons, messages, false attacks. Everything designed to keep us at war. Jason nodded. And now we end it. Kelthie stood beside them, fully healed her eyes burning with memory. She hadn't left Jason's side since the attack. The council had been silent after the attempt on his life. Seraveth's speech had shaken them, but they still refused to act. Too many feared change, so now they would bring proof. The council couldn't deny. The drop was fast. Seraveth's strike team flew low beneath the clouds. Jason wore light armor now, marked with the crest of her house. He didn't feel like a warrior, but he wasn't the same man who had wandered the forest alone. The fire inside him had changed. They landed in silence near a cliff wall. Kelthie led the way. Her nose caught a scent no machine could. The hidden door was there, just like before. Seraveth's text cracked the code. The walls slid open. They moved inside. The air was cold. Metallic. The corridors pulsed with power. Strange. Machines lined the walls. Symbols Jason didn't recognize glowed faintly underfoot. No guards, no warnings. Just silence, like the place didn't expect visitors. They reached the central chamber. A wide room filled with consoles, glowing memory cores, and a floating sphere identical to the one found in the forest. But this time, something else was waiting. A figure stepped from the shadows. Cloaked in deep black, their voice cold and sharp. "You should have stayed silent, human." Jason recognized the voice instantly. He stepped forward, fists clenched. "Counselor Therex." The alien removed his hood. His golden eyes glinted. "You were never meant to survive. But that beast of yours, she ruined everything." Kelthie growled low. Seraveth raised her weapon. "You caused this war. You orchestrated both sides. Why?" Therex smiled. "Because fear builds unity. Your people, your nobles, they argue. They divide, but with war, they listen. They obey, and I rose higher with every casualty." Jason shook his head. "You murdered thousands for power." "I saved our kind from weakness," Therex hissed. "And I would do it again." Without warning, he struck. A hidden blade snapped forward, glowing with dark energy. But Kelthie leapt first, her body slammed into him, claws cutting deep. He screamed, stumbled, and Seraveth fired. A beam of golden light struck him full in the chest. He fell without a word. The silence after his death was heavier than before. Jason stepped forward and accessed the console. Files poured across the screen, plans, recordings, fake attacks, transmissions intercepted and edited. All of it. "The proof," Seraveth nodded. "Send it to the council, every channel. No more secrets." Later, as the council reviewed the data, no one dared speak against it. Therex had been one of their own, trusted, respected, but now he was revealed as the poison beneath the surface. And the war so many had died for it was nothing but a shadow built by lies. Peace talks began within days, slowly, carefully, with Seraveth and Jason at the center. Trust was fragile, wounds deep. But now there was a chance. One evening, Jason stood on the edge of a quiet field, Kelthie resting nearby, the wind brushing the grass. Seraveth approached, her royal armor set aside, replaced by a simple dark robe. She stood beside him, watching the sky. "You were never meant to be part of this," she said. Jason smiled faintly. "Neither was Kelthie, but maybe that's why we mattered." She looked at him. "You reminded us that courage doesn't come from power. It comes from kindness, even when it's dangerous." He looked down at his hands. "I didn't save her because she was special. I saved her because she was alone. And now," Seraveth said, "you are not." Kelthie stirred, pressing her head against Jason's leg gently. He smiled, placing a hand on her fur. The war had started with a wound, but now healing had begun. And in that quiet moment, under a peaceful alien sky, Jason Holt no longer felt like a visitor. He had found something greater than survival. He had found purpose. And peace earned through truth would always be stronger than fear built on lies.